So I'll be under pretty heavy G as I level off at 300 feet and kind of bank to capture that Cat 3 line. And then I'll just roll the wings level, and then I'm just staring at my Mach. As soon as I get to 0.9 Mach, I'm to idle with a little bit of speed brake to make sure I don't exceed our speed limit of 0.95 Mach on that high speed. And then it's just a pull into the vertical. For this show, I just did an implement over the crowd in idle power. Depending on how hard I'm pulling, I can pull in idle power up to about 10,000 feet, trying to scrub some of that airspeed and bleed some energy to set up for our next maneuver.
Hello and welcome to the Fighter Pilot Podcast. I am your host, Vincent Aiello, call sign Jello. And this past weekend, I had the good fortune to attend the Marine Corps Air Station Miramar Air Show, where my favorite performance, I think, was the F-22 Raptor demonstration. And today is Monday, and I am fortunate to have the F-22 Raptor Demo Team join me here at the Circle Air Group Studios in Gillespie Field, just down the road from Miramar. Gentlemen, welcome to the Fighter Pilot Podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Absolutely, Jello. Thank you so much for having us.
Terrific. Yeah, I'm thrilled. And we knew that, of course, coming into the weekend, had a chance to hang out a little bit. So that was a lot of fun. Well, before we get into the demo and the airplane and everything else, let's get to know the two of you. So actually, we'll start over here, Master Sergeant.
Absolutely.
Tell us who you are and where you're from and how you got into the Air Force.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. So this show absolutely means the world to not only the team, but myself. I'm Master Sergeant John Lugo. I'm the F-22 Demo Team Superintendent. So I do a lot of background stuff with the team, making sure that we're getting to where we need to go logistically, setting up security, things like that. And then when Major Larson is in the air flying, I'm the narrator for the team as well. It was an honor to be here, not only with you, sir, but with everyone at Marine Corps Air Station Miramar. It was a blast to be there. Brings a lot of hometown memory for me. My dad was in the Navy, so I got a lot of time in North Island. So just being in this area just really brings back a lot of great memories. So we had an absolute blast.
Terrific. Well, the weather cooperated, a little foggy in the mornings, but yeah, I was listening to the demo. I might ask you later if you're willing to do your little introduction, because that was pretty cool.
Oh, absolutely.
It's sights and sounds.
Absolutely, Jello. Yeah, we'll do that.
All right. Raz, how about you?
For me, I got my start in aviation through air shows. And so I grew up in Davenport, Iowa. No military or aviation background in my family, but my parents took me to an air show when I was 6 months old. Every summer thereafter, my home was close to a small municipal airport that had a major air show. And so I got to see jets flying and going to that air show, talking to our predecessors on demo teams, Navy and Air Force alike, really illuminated a path forward for me as far as how do I go and do that someday. And so I just listened to that advice, took some mentorship at those air shows, and that's how I got my start and set my sights on being a fighter pilot someday. Ended up going through the Air Force Academy, graduated there in 2015, and then went to NJEPT, and from there went straight into F-22. So I've been flying the Raptor for about 8 years now. It's been an absolute thrill and honor to now be on the demonstration side of the house. It means a lot to myself and to the entire team, the mission of the demo team, because it had such a profound impact on my life growing up.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I didn't say it and you didn't either, but you're Sam Larson and you're a recent major, right? You were
That's right. Yeah,
promoted.
Sorry, I missed the one thing I had to do there, introduce myself. Yeah, Major Sam Larson, call sign Raz, and new major.
All right,
in
terrific.
The Air Force.
You know, by the way, I look back at my own life and there's part of me that wishes I'd have tried to go to the Air Force Academy. Of course, the Naval Academy didn't accept me anyway, so they might not have either. But, right, don't they have like a flying club, parachute club, gliders, skiings nearby?
They do.
Of course, you're working your butt off, but there's a lot of cool stuff too.
And I actually grew up wanting to be a Navy fighter pilot. Top Gun. I was a huge Blue Angel fan, still am. Really respect naval aviation, Marine Corps aviation. But when it came time to decide for college, I actually saw at an air show some cadets jumping out of airplanes into the air show, Wings of Blue. I was like, you can do that in college through the Air Force Academy? So I actually was part of that parachute team at the Academy, so made about 750 skydives as a cadet. So jumping out of airplanes in between class was a lot of fun, and I was very happy with that decision and ended up going that Air Force route.
Yeah.
So
Terrific. Good. All right. Well, I don't know where to start on this because, let's talk about the mission and the people and everything else. But I will start with a little bit of history nugget just from my side of the table. Back in November of 2019, 5 years ago already, we had your F-16 brothers on the show, and we had the pilot and a crew chief as well. And so we talked a little bit about that. So hopefully I can still represent the listener here. But let's just start at the beginning. What is the F-22 Raptor demonstration team? I just said what it is, but what's its purpose?
Absolutely. So purpose of the F-22 demo team, basically we're the face of Raptor Nation. So you're not going to really have the opportunity to go interact and see these aircraft, meet the maintainers, the pilots in our normal day-to-day operations. And so we're out here representing all of Raptor Nation and really the Air Force in general. Our overall mission statement is to recruit, retain, and inspire. We are not recruiters by virtue, but again, as with my story and with a lot of folks on the team, it works. Seeing this stuff at air shows gets people excited about the possibility of serving in some capacity. But ultimately, our goal is to inspire folks to set goals for their lives and then pursue them relentlessly. And so if they want to come join the military, want to fly jets or work on jets, that's great. But we're out there just to inspire and hopefully get some of America's best to come work with us. And if we can make that happen in the Raptor community, then that's an added bonus. So, and then beyond that, just to showcase to the American taxpayer what we're capable of, what our frontline 5th gen fighter is capable of, and a little bit of deterrence as well, show our adversaries what we're capable of.
Terrific. And Master Sergeant, where are you all based and how big is the team?
Absolutely. So the team is 14 people. We are at a Langley Air Force Base in Hampton, Virginia. That's where the F-22 demo team resides. That's where we pull all of our maintainers from. Excellent group of folks. We couldn't be more thrilled. I mean, we have the opportunity to sit down and we have to interview all these folks, and we're looking for really keen people to just be out there. And like Major said, the recruit, retain, inspire. We absolutely want to bring that personability to wherever we go. So our team is phenomenal about just speaking to people about what we do individually, how we come together as a team, and then what the end product looks like. And that's for the 20 to 25-minute demo with Major Larson, and then sometimes with our heritage flight, which is amazing as well.
Yeah.
So it's just really cool to see all of the little pieces come together, and then it literally is just that final piece. And then people come over, the smiles. Oh my goodness. I mean, it inspires us too, right, to continue to be better because we have a large responsibility on our shoulders, and we don't take that lightly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and an air show, other than the traffic and maybe a sunburn, is always a good time.
Always.
It's just, it's a day with family, hopefully, and a bunch of people, and it's loud, it's fast, it's fun, and it's America, right? So, but I want to ask you talked about the team, 14 people, right? A normal, maybe natural comparison might be to the U.S. Air Force Thunderbirds. Now, I would think, I don't know, but they might be hundreds of people, and maybe you see 6, but maybe 8 or 10 airplanes. You're 14, and how many airplanes?
Oh, absolutely. So we are a team of 14,
right?
But we don't bring 14 people on the road, Jello. Usually our capacity is 10. 2 of those are air crew with Major Larson, and then we have a safety officer. Myself as the senior enlisted leader. Backbone is Technical Sergeant Eric Tallman. He's our maintenance team lead, making sure that the jets are great. We have a public affairs officer that comes with us, Staff Sergeant Michael Bowman. We have air crew flight equipment, which gets divvied up between 2 phenomenal women that are just great at what they do. And then from there, the other 4, 2 crew chiefs and 2 specialists. So that's a really small team, and we ask a lot of them to move 2 aircraft around, $300 million worth of assets, to do everything that we need them to do. And then the best part, in my opinion, when it comes to the professionalism, is we ask them to do so much in their career field, and then we ask them to do other things in other people's career field. So we have aircrew flight equipment that are turning speed handles and fixing the jet when at home they don't do that. So we really just get that whole airman concept, and it's really just fun to see what these individuals do on the team. It's mind-blowing every weekend, Joe. Every weekend.
I bet. But Raz, are these your aircraft, right? Can you paint them the colors you want and everything?
They are not our aircraft, so we beg, borrow, and steal. We are unique in that capacity in that we get different jets every single weekend, essentially. So we'll borrow from any Raptor unit. It could be from Alaska, it could be from the three units at Langley Air Force Base. And that throws a lot of curveballs to the folks on our teams because they don't get to know a specific aircraft through the course of a season. And I've seen some miracles pulled off by this team on the road. To add to what John was saying, we do not have a support aircraft, and so what we bring on the road, usually the team is flying commercial to meet us at a show site. We have Pelican cases, so we have minimal tools, minimal equipment, and we have to problem solve. And it is probably the most impressive thing I get to see week in and week out with this team is the problem solving capabilities. When we get the whole team in a circle and we take inputs from everyone, and we go through iterations of plans and eventually settle on the best plan and then go execute. And it is really impressive to see. And I'm very, very proud to call these folks teammates. And I'm just blown away by what they've been able to do this year.
Yeah. But as far as going to, let's say, a squadron hat in hand, it's not like you're hoping for their goodwill to give you a jet. I'm guessing you have a big brother that's, hey, this is an important team, and hey, Squadron X, you're going to provide 2 jets this weekend to go to Miramar, right? I mean, I hope.
Absolutely. Once we get our schedule in December after the ICAS Air Show convention, and then we go to the squadrons and the director of operations of those squadrons to kind of divvy up how we're going to source airplanes. But it is a must-pay bill to get jets to demo. Sometimes it's difficult, and again, shout out to the units back at the bases because they do get those aircraft up and flyable to provide for the shows that we do each week.
We had an episode on the F-22, and I have had so many episodes now I can't remember everything, so bear with me. But how different, right? They built less than 200. There's something less than 180 left. How different can they be when you get in them? Now, in an F-18, we had everything from the early A's and B's with steam gauges just about to the later different engines, different oxygen systems, et cetera. How different is an F-22 from week to week when you jump in one?
They all fly the same, which is great. And so we don't have any major components that are different. Engines, flight control system, it's all going to be the same F-22. We have different blocks, different variants, different software upgrades. So sometimes your HOTAS, some of the buttons will do different things. Nothing major, but I'll do something and be like, oh, that's the wrong button in this jet. But no major differences. They all fly the same. So that's easy on my end. It's more so for the maintenance side of the house where that becomes difficult.
Well, let's go to you on that then, Master Sergeant. If you're below the wing and open a panel, is it, that's this one this week?
Just a little bit different.
Okay.
It really just depends. Some things, are 2001 models that were rolling off their production line versus the ones that rolled off in 2010. Sensors, little wires, upgraded little things here, there, and the other. But from that, nothing major to come to mind with everything. Just a little bit of difference between, a 1970s car and maybe a 1975 car.
As long as it's the same model.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. And how many shows are you doing a year?
So that gets divvied out by Air Combat Command. We're usually doing about 20 shows, and then sometimes we do events where we're not actually at an air show, and we're doing something else supporting either things that the Department of Defense would like us to support to kind of show some face with the F-22 Raptor, and then we get to do really, really fun stuff like go to the United States Air Force Academy and inspire the cadets that are there, our future leaders, to do a demonstration for them. So technically not an air show, but we still get to put on a performance for them, and that just, again, inspires us. And then it's cool to see the leaders, the up-and-coming leaders, really just kind of take that backpack and be like, well, this is mine. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to lead. So we do about that. So about 20 shows, and event-wise, maybe anywhere between 3 to 6 other events.
Okay, yeah. And is it RAS every weekend? So you're like, when you leave Miramar, you're going to go directly somewhere else, or you're going to go home and maybe have a weekend off? How busy is it?
It gets pretty busy. We try logistically when we're working through the schedule to string events together where it makes sense. So for this trip, for example, we're going up to Huntington Beach, and then we're going up to San Francisco Fleet Week, keeping the 2 aircraft we have on the West Coast this entire time. So that saves us a lot of money out of our budget doing it that way. Typically, we would go back home, so our schedule would be go to the show on Thursday, arrive Friday, Saturday, Sunday, demonstrations, and then back home Monday. But when we can, we stay on the road. And yeah, we tend to get close to, I'd say, about 30 events when you factor in international events. And this year's been busy. We've gone on some stretches where we've been on the road nonstop for about 6 weeks in a row, which has been a lot of fun. It's grueling at times, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, but Master Sergeant, in the Navy, I don't know what you call it, but if I took an F-18 for the weekend, I would have different types of inspections it needs, dailies and turnarounds. And then, of course, if you go longer, how do you handle that for the F-22? Are you able to do all that with your team, or do you have to go pop in somewhere once in a while and get the thing refreshed?
For the most part, our team is phenomenal, and we ask them to go through forms they look at the 2 aircraft, maybe the 3 aircraft with the spare to be like, hey, we're going on the road. Best case scenario is going to be a month. So let's make sure that 30-day inspection of whether it's an egress final, looking at the seat, whether it's a fuel cell inspection, something that, and we go through all that. And again, we put that all on our maintenance, and they look through that and they're like, this is what we got, this is what we're knocking out, and this is going to get us to maybe 30 days, maybe 40 days, give us a little bit of breathing room there. So we look and tend to do that. Some of the other little inspections we absolutely can do on the road, and again, our guys and gals do a phenomenal job doing that. But we absolutely have to look forward. I mean, it makes sense with the limited equipment that we have, the limited availability we have to go to other Air Force bases. So that's a big thing for us is to kind of give that oversight for however many days we're going to be on the road.
And in case maybe the viewer or the listener is not familiar, and again, tell me if it's any different in the Air Force, but in the Navy, right, these are complicated, expensive machines. So every single day, if you're flying them, there's something you're looking at. And then maybe every week, there's something you didn't look at every day, but you need to look at it once a week. And then every maybe 2 weeks, 30 days, and every year, there's things you need to do. So it's the same thing. You're looking ahead at when is this particular airframe going to need something. And if we can do it now, that resets the clock so that while we're gone, it's good to go for that period of time. Is that...
That absolutely is right, Jello. And then again, it's really nice. Usually when we're back at home, you have one crew chief that's looking over, we'll say a basic post-flight right after the jet flew, maybe a 1.2, 1.5, doing a 2-3 hour inspection. Our guys and gals all look at the jet. So if we're doing an inspection, Jello, you're looking at something very specific that maybe I'm not looking as specific, just with your background knowledge. So again, we have our specialists, our avionics specialists, and our crew chiefs looking at this. So it's a team effort. And again, it really is just cool to kind of see them go and do their thing. And you're like, it's just proud. We're proud, Dad. I'm the oldest on the team, so a proud dad moment.
Even present?
Absolutely, and Major Larson likes to remind me.
I do like to remind him, and it is impressive, even just for this trip coming out to Miramar for this 3-week stint we're doing. The night before and the morning that we were going to launch out of Langley, the folks on the team were knocking out egress inspections to reset that clock, just like you were saying. Changing out tires. We want to make sure we're not going to have to change tires on the road. We don't have jacks. We don't have all this equipment to do that. So they're knocking all this stuff out hours before we take off to go meet the tanker to get out here to Miramar. So again, it's really impressive to see it in action.
Yeah. And this is your primary duty. When you're on the team, it is the team. You're not maybe, or are you, still going over to a squadron and staying tactical, or maybe going and doing other work with other squadrons? I mean, is this your sole focus for those couple of years?
It is for 4 folks on the team. So myself being the pilot and commander of the team, his primary duty is demo. For John, Tech Sergeant Tallman, and then our public affairs Staff Sergeant Bowman, we're all really assigned to the team. Everyone else we're borrowing from the unit. So when we are not on the road, those folks are back on the line working in the squadrons. I'm still attached to a squadron at Langley. I will fly when I can, go do some of the tactical stuff. When we're in the heart of the season, it's pretty rare that we have the time to go do that, but still get to do some of the normal flying on this side.
Yeah. Well, and if this is your mission right now, and you've got probably, I think you said, coming up on 1,000 hours? Or
coming up, 950 hours.
Okay, there you go. Yeah. So, right, you've got enough experience that you know what you're doing, and you've done enough tactics that, like, okay, I can just kind of put that in one part of my brain for right now. When I'm done with this, I'll go back, oh yeah, I remember that, or I just need to dust off this skill. But this is the task, the mission for today.
It is, 2 years for the demo pilot. You get to fly all the demos and then back to the unit. So, demo really is the primary
but you're not
mission.
The only pilot.
I'm not. So I'm the only certified pilot to fly the demo for this 2-year span. We alternate our safety observers who come out. So they fly the spare. We love having a spare on the road with us. And they're in constant comms with me during the demo. Basically, mutual support, a wingman just on the ground. But we'll alternate those folks out, and we borrow them from the units at Langley as well.
Okay, so they're not people that are going to be you next year. And they're not sort of like, I just got done watching that Blue Angels documentary, right? So they bring all the new folks on and then they shadow them the whole time. So these aren't people that are going to take over your job. They're just people you're borrowing. And
we will, here at the end of the season, my replacement will travel with us. So kind of like the Blue Angels, and same thing with John's replacement, will be traveling on the road with us to get a feel for what goes on the road and start to learn this job.
Yeah. And you already talked about it a little bit, but so take us again through a normal weekend. You show up, and is it just get to your room and turn on TV and hang out, or are you out and maybe going to schools or hospitals or something, or what are you doing? Actually, we'll start with you there, Master.
Absolutely. So let's just say a standard show is usually the team gears up on Tuesday. So we'll pack up. We do everything in there, again, asking these folks to do a lot of stuff. Think ahead. Pack up about 30 cases, depending. That's Tuesday. Wednesday, we're making sure that obviously jets are good to go. And then we usually hop on a commercial flight, whatever defense travel system gives us. And then we hop on there. We'll roll up to one of the airlines, and they kind of look at us like, why do you have so many bags? But out of Norfolk, when we normally fly, it's kind of nice because they get to know us a little bit, and they're like, oh, the demo team's back. We hop on a flight, and let's say we were coming here to Miramar. It's a little bit different because we got here on a tanker. But if we were taking a commercial flight, we get there, and we set everything up Wednesday, making sure that we do a site survey, making sure that everything that needs to happen is happening with security, barriers, everything from there. And then with that, constant comms with Major Larson and the SO. Hey, we're good to go. You guys come in Thursday. Thursday, we gather up all of our materials and whatnot, gather up all the people. We catch 2 aircraft, and then from there, Sergeant Bowman kicks in, public affairs officer, and he's like, okay, let's start figuring out what we're doing. And we've done everything this year from hospital visits, school visits, YMCAs, just to engage with kids. And that is a very, very rewarding part. And we absolutely love doing that. But that can be very grueling, because sometimes if the jets land and they're not in the best of condition, we have to kind of do some split ops, right? Mm-hmm. And with only 10 people on the road, it gets a little bit frustrating to be like, okay, we need to do this, but we need to do this, we need to do this. But from there, Thursday, we knock that out. Friday, practice day is usually what we're doing with air shows. And then we can still have the opportunity to get people. We love bringing people out to the jet and get kind of like that factor of look at this thing. And then we do a Saturday, Sunday show, obviously safety being priority there. And then Monday, thank you so much, sir. He takes off. We grab all of our stuff, hop back on a commercial flight, and we're on to the next thing. That's usually a standard. Yeah. But for these next 3 weeks, it's very non-standard.
Right.
So Major Larson had said, I think one of the best things that we do is when we kind of get in our little circle and we just all chat. Right? It's very different from back home. You'd never go to your commander and be like, oh, okay, everyone from the lowest ranking to, the 06 is in a circle and we're just kind of chatting. That's not really how that works. Yeah. It's really, really cool to see, because everyone kind of just, I call it like Knights of the Round Table, just hits everybody and it's like, okay. And we'll go around the circle 3-4 times to work a problem and stuff like that. And then the 4th time around, you just see a light bulb go off in someone's head and you're like, that's the best plan. Perfect. That's going to keep us on we get there Wednesday all the way to Monday schedule.
Yeah. Well, but it's a different mission too, right? Not to make excuses for what you said, but a unit, if I was the commanding officer of some unit and you came to me, hey, dude, my job is get ready for war fighting, right? So let's be serious about all that. Yours is a performance, and you want to inspire the next generation, and you want it to go well and smooth and not hopefully have any maintenance issues. But Raz, I got to think, you show up at a school or a hospital, I mean, I don't know, maybe you've never been a rock star. I haven't either, but as close as you can get to one, I mean, is it a pretty cool feeling?
It is, and we go with the whole team. We want to talk about everyone's career field, and it is a very wide breadth of events that we go to on those Thursday commits, if you will. And so we try to tailor what we're talking about to the audience. So it could be Civil Air Patrol, Junior ROTC, folks who have some familiarity, or we could go to a school that has no idea what an F-22 is, and so we tailor what we're talking about. But yeah, Thursdays tend to be busy because you're flying cross country, making sure that all goes smoothly, and then you hit the ground running at the show site, and then the weekends just go by quick. It goes by in a flash. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we're at an air boss brief in the morning. We do our own brief with the team and with our heritage flight pilot, and then we have a demo tent, which is a really great spot where we get to meet folks. We sell some swag for nonprofit and charity donations that the team does, and then we're out at the jets bringing people out for tours. We go and fly, obviously the flight being the priority for safety. And then as soon as we're done, the team doesn't pack up and leave. We like to stay. If we have another team there, like the Blue Angels or Thunderbirds, we'll stay till after one of the major jet teams is finished performing. And then we'll get out on the line and start giving people tours and try to maximize our footprint, interact with as many people as we can. And then on those Friday, Saturday evenings, usually the air show has an event that we are going to attend. Present our litho, do all that standard stuff, but also we're still interacting with folks, still taking pictures and talking to folks about the aircraft. So you get to Sunday night, Monday morning, and you're like, wow, this was a jam-packed weekend, and then cross-country back home and get ready for the next one. So it's busy. There's not a lot of downtime. The fact that we have a phenomenal team makes it the best job in the world. So
sounds like it. And again, right, everyone who's seeing you isn't like when they see the police behind you, like, oh crap. It's more like, awesome, that was cool, or saw the demo, or this is an F-22, and everything about it is just high energy, high enthusiasm. So that must be really exciting. I want to talk about the actual demo, if I can. And maybe I've got my laptop here. We can watch a video of it from this weekend, and we can maybe talk through it, if that's cool.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, so I found a channel here. Let's see, who is this guy? Do you know this guy? Spencer Hughes?
I do, yep. He takes phenomenal videos, reached out to me multiple times this year. We've worked with him in the past. He does a great job recording these demos.
Terrific, okay. Well, he's got his channel, Spencer Hughes 2255. Check it out. He's got 1 million followers. And this is from, I believe, the Friday show. And you called that earlier, our practice, even though there's people there, right? They're watching.
Yep, here at Miramar, that was a public show day, and really anytime we're doing a rehearsal day, there's going to be folks in the crowd.
Okay.
So,
well, but let me ask you this: how often does the show itself change? Is it pretty much the same show no matter where you put it on? Now, you might have an air start like you will next weekend for the Pacific show, but if you're doing a demo in Miramar or one down in Florida somewhere, is it the same performance?
It is pretty much the same. So we have some flexibility in how we tailor the show to the show site. A lot of factors that we bring into play as far as are we staged at the show or staged off-site. That obviously drives a lot of factors. Where's our arresting cable? That's going to determine kind of my fuel and what reserve I have to carry. We have an emergency right as I'm about to land, and I have to fly to a cable with the gear stuck down to take an arresting cable if we needed to. So that's how we pad our fuel. And then obviously there's just the weather and show site factors that we always bring into play. And then we have just a little bit of flexibility as far as what we do with the heritage flight and after the heritage flight with additional passes we're going to make. And so we try to tailor the show, and I would say it changes a little bit every single weekend. But our high show and low show routine are approved maneuver package through the Air Force and through the FAA. And so we stick to that, and sometimes we'll just change as far as how we present those maneuvers. But I have altitudes, airspeeds that I'm trying to hit throughout the entire performance.
So to your point about being able to go somewhere else if you have a problem. So at the end of your performance, if you maybe put the gear down or something happens, let's say here at Miramar, and now you need to go somewhere else, you know that you have North Island a couple miles away, which is convenient, probably not always so close.
Yep.
And they have a barrier cable ready to go that you can take, and it'll bring you to stop if necessary.
Absolutely. Okay. And we'll do shows where there's no resting cable at the show site. It could be 80 miles away. And so now we're padding that fuel in order to fly 80 miles to that cable divert and take an arresting cable.
And might that mean there's something you don't do, or maybe just not as many passes with a heritage flight, which we'll talk about in a second?
Yep. We'll basically cut from the demo in order to keep that fuel reserve.
Yeah. Yep. All right, Master Sergeant, I told you earlier I might want to ask you, when he was taxiing to the runway and you showed up on the microphone, I'm going to put you on the spot now because everyone can see you, but you had a good way to get everybody fired up.
Oh, I love doing it.
Let's hear it.
I love doing it. So, I mean, I really just, I tailor it too.
Whatever's happening, it hits you in the moment.
But with that, like, one of the big things is Technical Sergeant Eric Tallman, again, a backbone to the team, will play something on our iPad. And with that, I just love really just getting into it. I really love music. So as soon as I hear our track playing, I'm like, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the United States Air Force, the Commander of Air Combat Command, General Ken Wilsbach, and all the men and women of Air Combat Command, we welcome you to today's F-22 demonstration. And everyone starts cheering up, and I love it. I love looking around.
I get goosebumps just listening to it.
It's fun. It's fun. It never gets old, and it just brings a smile to everyone's face. And I instantly am like, okay, we're doing it.
Yeah.
Teamwork.
Are you reading, or is it all up in your noggin at a certain point in the season?
At this point in the season, I'm just going off everything that's in my head. We absolutely have a script from there just in case something happens, because sometimes we have to change a maneuver because clouds came in or whatever the case may be. But with that, I'm pretty good at knowing exactly what Major's doing, being like, oh, that doesn't look like we're going into, let's say, the tail slide because we don't have the ceiling for it or something to that effect. Or, nope, we're ready to rock and roll, and I can just pick, you want to know that? I will narrate it for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
The show center crew, John and Eric, phenomenal. That's a huge part of the show, narration and music. And so they're in comms with me as well. And so everyone's synced up throughout the entire demonstration. And they take a lot of pride in what they do. With music and narration, we try to sync the whole demo with that music and narration. And I think it adds a lot to the show. Yeah. And again, it's just another element we can bring in where we try to be as precise as we can.
Yeah. Raz, most operations out of Miramar take off 2-4. You taxied down and took off on runway 6. Mm-hmm. Was that part of the demo or part of the conditions that particular day?
Part of the demo. We wanted to have the takeoff roll, so that was carrying a lot of smash into show center for our takeoff maneuver. So on Friday, we did the low show takeoff, which is a Cobra takeoff. And then Saturday, Sunday, we did our normal high show where I go up to 3,500 feet, do a high alpha loop with flares. And then when I'm pointed 90 degrees nose low, I do a roll to set my reposition line. And that was, the takeoff direction purely just to have that takeoff roll available to make that pull at show center.
Okay. Well, that's what we're seeing here on Spencer's channel is you're taking off. Now, Cobra, I mean, I don't know. What does that mean? Just a quick pitch to the vertical and then back over as depicted there?
It is, yep. So about 250 knots, and I think I was doing about 270 on Friday and pull 90 degrees nose high. So hard stop pull to the vertical. Once I see 90, then a hard stop push forward. When I'm going, no kidding, 250 knots, I can do that full Cobra in about 500 feet. So I'll level off 500 feet after going 90 degrees nose high and then push. Kind of shows the thrust vectoring at play. Also interesting note, we are carrying a full load of fuel. We're not half loading fuel like some other demonstrations throughout the world. So that's no kidding. Gear in the well, jet's 9G capable and able to do a Cobra maneuver.
Wow.
Yep.
But what are you pulling 250? I'm guessing you're not getting 9 at 250.
Not getting 9, probably around 6 to 7, and it's a quick spike there. Yeah. And then getting a lot of negative G on that pushover. So kind of floating around in the cockpit.
Which the push-pull, right, is like a known physiological challenge. So I'm guessing at some point in your training, or maybe even before you get in, are you doing some sort of physiological warm-up to prepare your body for this?
A little bit. Just practice and repetition, really. We're not doing any kind of G warm-up in the demo like you would on a normal tactical sortie. So we test our A-tags. We wear the G-suit. We have a tester in the jet, make sure they're inflating correctly. That's something I have to call out as a challenge response with my safety observer, and then just right into it. And so prepping for the demo, always making sure that I'm very well hydrated and rested up, ready to go. Nutrition's taken care of, just so that I'm in the best physical state. On these weekend air shows, we're not going out and burning it down. We're getting ready. I want to be in the best physiological state that I can possibly be in, because it is a demanding demo.
Okay. So Cobra, and then you exit, and then what comes next?
So for Friday, I do this, basically you call it a dedication pull. But that was really just a chance for me to get a lay of the land. When we arrived on Wednesday, all the markers weren't necessarily up. So just wanted to get another look at the show site for the follow-on maneuvering. And so just enter in through the left corner marker. You have a left and a right corner marker. You have a Cat 1 and Cat 3 line. And so we brief it every morning with the air boss as far as the lines you need to fly. Cat 1 aerobatic line is 1,500 feet from the crowd. That's where all our aerobatics take place. Cat 3 line is for our non-aerobatic passes. That's 500 feet from the crowd. And so we'll use both of those lines depending on which pass we're making. But that was just a chance for me to take a look at the show site and then get ready for the demo.
Yeah. What percentage would you say of your performance is inside, heads-up display or whatever you might be looking at, versus outside?
I'd say it's majority outside. Hard to quantify with a percentage, but just quick cross-checks through the HUD, looking for my altitude and my airspeed, and then it's right back outside. So it's a lot of fun. You're not nugget down much during the demo. It's just looking around and picking up those lines throughout the show.
Okay. Let's move on. Is it a high-speed pass next, or?
That's a min-radius turn,
Okay.
And so again, we're doing this pretty much full fuel weight just after takeoff. And so this just showcasing the tight turn radius of the jet. So it's about an 8.5 G pull, 8.5 to 9 on the initial. I'm starting around 420 knots, 500 feet. Fun little fact, I'm climbing about a degree on the outbound leg and then descending about a degree on the second 180 of that turn. That's from the crowd's perspective to make it look level. If I just stayed at 500 feet, it would look like I'm descending on the outbound 180 and then climbing on the inbound 180. So just a minor nuance there, but we're bleeding down from 420 knots down to 275 knots on this pass. That facilitates me rolling wings level and then going right into a Cobra. For the F-22, 275 knots is pitch rate command on the jet. So anything above 275 knots, the jet's restricting me to 9 Gs. Below 275 knots, the jet's going to command, about 20 Gs. I'm not going to get there, but basically that's going to give me my best pitch rate below 275 knots to do that Cobra maneuver.
Yeah. 20 Gs?
That's what it's commanding. I'm not going to get anywhere close because I don't have the airspeed. But
can the airframe withstand that?
Well, the airframe can withstand a lot. The most I get in the demo, which will be later on, I get in the high 9s, just below 10 during the demo. That's as I get rid of some of that fuel weight. So the most I've ever seen in the demo, I've got it multiple times this year, is 9.9 Gs during the demo. But
crazy. Okay, so this was the min radius turn you just described. Then what?
So up to the Cobra here, again, showcasing the push-pull thrust vectoring capability of the jet. So that thrust vectoring, very difficult to see with the naked eye during daytime performances. I didn't show the J-turn there, but that's our reposition. Right after that Cobra, I'll basically do a post-stall J-turn maneuver. It looks like a hammerhead, but basically I'm going full aft stick, getting to a high angle of attack, so greater than 36 degrees angle of attack as post-stall for us. And then I'm bleeding in a full boot of left pedal with that full aft stick, and the jet basically hammerheads, which you'll see another one at the end of this performance. But basically, I'm going to crowd left and then just stop midair, and then I'm pointed back at the crowd after that J-turn. So akin to a pirouette you'd see in BFM, but a very, very tight pirouette.
Well, and that is, I think, what makes the F-22 the formidable air-to-air fighter, is the ability to do that. And here we get to see it, which you don't normally otherwise get to see on some of the performances. So back to the very top of this episode, that's, to me, what makes this such an amazing performance. Because, not to poo-poo the other team fighters, but, you watch an F-16, 15, 18, they're all kind of doing variants of the same thing. But an F-22 performance is unlike any other.
It is unique, and we love getting to showcase that post-stall capability. And when they designed this demo with Lockheed Martin engineers and the Air Force, it was really the idea was to showcase what's unique about the Raptor. And with some of the maneuvers we added this year, we were just trying to take that to the next level as far as what's unique about the F-22 that sets it apart from some of the other fighters.
Well, but speaking of that, there are no, correct me if I'm wrong, 2-seat F-22s. So when you're learning to be the demo pilot, is it, I'm guessing, starting in a simulator, which, right, nothing, you can't feel anything, but you can at least do the maneuvers, and then maybe you start higher and kind of work it down?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. So we'll actually go out as a 2-ship over the water. So the previous demo pilot will be basically chasing the incoming demo pilot, go through the whole profile, high show, low show, and then after 2 flights of that, the new demo pilot is over Langley with a 2,000-foot floor, doing the whole profile, and then working down in 500-foot increments down to the surface. It's a 21-flight upgrade, with the last 3 flights being certifications: Wing Commander, Numbered Air Force Commander, and then Commander of Air Combat Command ultimately certifies watching from the ground.
Okay. All right. Let's see, we're moving out here. Well, you're not going stage right, but what are we doing here?
So from the J-turn, I'll dive back in. So I'll exit the J-turn about 90 degrees nose low, and then I'm basically just working my way down to 300 feet off the ground on that Cat 3 500-foot line, and then I'll do a tactical pitch reposition to set up for the next maneuver. So it's just burners on the crowd. And again, I'll go post-stall momentarily. So when you see our tactical pitch, you see we call it the sliding on the banana effect, but you'll see basically the jet start to drift. And so I'm, no kidding, seeing post-stall cues in my heads-up display. So 36 degrees angle of attack is our post-stall cutoff. And so I'll, no kidding, have lines that flow into the HUD. I have the water line so I can see how far I've pulled past post-stall. And so it's just a momentary excursion post-stall, and then I'll use combined stick and pedal to then right the aircraft. And the goal is to be exactly 90 degrees outbound after that tack pitch to set up for weapons bay pass.
In the F-18, we have both pitch and yaw warning tones that we get certain regimes of flight. Are there oral tones for your performance as well? Or in the F-22, I guess?
No, there are not. Yeah,
all
so
visual.
we're all visual. That's a big thing we train with our new pilots is to understand the feeling of the jet. Let's say you're fighting defensive BFM. You don't want to unintentionally pull post-stall. You want to recognize what regime you're in, even if you're not looking forward through the heads-up display. So using those buffet cues, and then when you go post-stall, you tend to get things get very quiet in the jet, and so it's just ways to recognize it. But yeah, we're really just using those cues and practice repetition.
21 flights. So by the time you even start the season, it sounds like you're going to be pretty proficient. But then you go out and start actually doing it with no one else kind of watching you per se, except for the audience. And you probably build some comfort and all that. Good. All right. So then you come back around and you're showing us your guts.
That's right. Yeah. So weapons bay pass. So basically enter about 30-degree offset heading from the crowd line. And then I'm actually talking with our show center crew, and they're giving me actually a ready now hack, and they're syncing this entire maneuver up with the music and narration. And so I bank up at the second ready, and then on the now is when I'm manually opening the doors. I get a show center call from safety observer to close the doors, and then I get a good close call prior to me starting the pull to start my reposition roll for the next pass. But yeah, it's just a belly up pass. Real quick, show the weapons base, show how quickly those doors open in flight, which is a cool capability of the jet as far as when we're shooting a missile. Those doors, if I hit the pickle button, those doors are going to open in very quickly. Eject the missile with pretty extreme force to get out of the slipstream of the aircraft for that to fire and go away. And then those doors close right back up. We want those doors closed because that's when we're going to be our sneakiest with that stealth capability. So
I was going to avoid asking you that, but yeah, anytime you're doing anything other than just the clean airframe, you're probably a bit more of a beacon than normal. So you're showing not only its internal storage, but that how quickly it opens and closes.
Yep.
Is the safety observer call, because and I don't know if there's a history of this or not, but if one side closes, the other doesn't, you don't want to be reefing on a bunch of G because now it's a configuration we're not used to?
Exactly. Yep. We want to make sure, because it is non-standard to be in flight and manually opening those doors. Normally you just be hitting that pickle button and the doors are doing their thing and closing up. So just an added layer of safety of, hey, the door's closed as commanded and you're good to go with the rest of the profile.
If you were able to look inside, wouldn't there be some sort of enunciator telling you that, or?
It would be visual. So we have really 4 main screens in the cockpit, and on my left display is where I see, it's our stores management display, where I see the door positions, and that's where I manually command open and close. So I would absolutely see if a door did not close, I would be able to cross-check that display and say, yep, that door's open.
But the call just is one less thing you got to look in for.
That's right.
You're good to go. Okay. All right. What happens after that one?
So I'll reef on the G's here a little bit, and then just a quick reposition roll. I got to be above 500 feet there, and then I basically set a reposition line for our dedication pass.
And what is the dedication pass?
So it's really a left-hand turn, hitting that right corner marker and that left corner marker. I'll extend out, give John a chance to narrate. Now, this is a really important pass for our team, probably our team's favorite maneuver. We dedicate it to all the men and women who have gone before us, who paid the ultimate price in service to our country. And so this pass is dedicated to them. We've had many shows this year and in previous years where we'll dedicate that pass to a specific individual or a group of individuals, depending on the circumstances. And so give John a chance to describe what this maneuver means to the crowd. And then I'll roll in. It's 300 feet. I'm around 450 knots. And so basically just a high-speed pass, really the best chance also to get a good photo of the top side of the aircraft during the demo. But yeah, the meaning behind it is the most important part of the maneuver.
Well, speaking of that, I was going to save this till later, but I'll just bring it up now. I was waking up yesterday, checking computer as I normally do, and I saw an announcement about one of your bros who's in a fight for his life, Thunder Nunnelley, I think it is, F-22 guy. And what's his story? Did I read right? Brain cancer?
That's right. Yep. So Hunter Nunnelley, call sign Thunder, actually was in the squadron with him, 27th Fighter Squadron at Langley. Just got diagnosed with brain cancer. had to pack up the family last week and moved to Ohio to go work with a specialist there. So there's a GoFundMe to help out his family with everything they're going through right now. But he is a great Raptor driver, great person, great family, and so any support for him is much needed and much appreciated.
We'll leave a link, and I have to confess, I'm human, and I'm not proud of this, but when I saw the GoFundMe, I thought to myself, Air Force is going to take care of this guy, and that thought flew out quickly, because I know from personal experience, and I won't bother you with it now, but yes, the Air Force is going to take care of moving the family or the medical and all that. But as we all know, I mean, maybe other family needs to come in town. Maybe you just need the kids to go somewhere and that costs money. Maybe you just need a house cleaner to come and just take care of the house. Correct. I don't have to clean the house, right? I'm speaking for the spouse here. So there are all these other expenses, and the GoFundMe can really go a long way. Plus, it's just a way to express, hey, man, feel for you. So I made a contribution, not only because, I would want to anyway, but knowing that you guys were coming today. So I hope everyone else will take a look and consider it. I don't know how long it will take us to produce this and get it out there, but I presume the GoFundMe will still be up, and I presume he'll still be fighting, because this isn't something that's a 30-second dogfight. This is probably a big deal.
Absolutely, and that's much appreciated.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so that's the dedication pass. Where do we go after that?
So I'll reposition out to crowd left. This is our one quick ops check in the demo, so I'll exchange that with the safety observer, my fuel, and then basically a left roll to go right, and then I'm diving back in to set up for our pedal turn maneuver. When we have a heritage warbird, we'll typically, like at Miramar this weekend, we'll have the Mustang take off, so he's behind the crowd holding, so I cap my altitudes behind the crowd for deconfliction. So if we don't have the warbird there, I'll take it up in the vertical up to about 6,000 feet. This weekend, I'm repositioning below 3,000 feet just for that altitude deconfliction.
Is an ops check also sort of, I don't know, like if you're at the gym and you're doing a really heavy rep or set or something, like a chance to kind of take a break? I mean, do you get a drink of water or remove your mask for a second? Or is it just not even, just maybe barely a breath? Yeah,
barely a breath. I'm actually under pretty heavy G usually on that one, because I do that roll and then I'm going around 550 knots and bleeding down to 300 knots. So we'll get around 9 Gs there, and then when I can breathe again, I'll call out my fuel, and then it's right back in. So it's quick.
All right. And I love how you can see, even in the performance, but certainly in this nice footage here by Spencer Hughes, just like the control surfaces moving. Like you said, I never saw the nozzles moving, but you can see the leading and trailing edge flaps doing their thing, and part of the super maneuverability of the F-22.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. At some point in here, I don't know if we'll see it on Friday, but I've never seen flares, I don't think, before the F-22 demo. Now, Master Sergeant, let's bring you back in real
Absolutely.
quick. Are these something you all are bringing with you? Airlines probably don't want these things.
I would imagine they don't want us to bring a flare on.
So are they already loaded in the airplane?
They are, yes. Okay. Which, again, that's just another thing that we talked about looking forward. We have the opportunity to get 2 aircraft fully loaded with flare, and that's it. We're not taking them with us. So sometimes we have to, like a back-to-back show, we're actually going to go visit our brothers and sisters at Nellis Air Force Base to refrag some flare, so we can go to Huntington Beach here next weekend and support them with flare as well. So just a lot of comms. And I know we spoke about it too, borrowing jets from other units. The F-22 fleet is pretty small. So when we talk to Alaska, when we talk to Nellis, we're talking to our brothers and sisters that at one point in time we probably ran into on a deployment, or they came over to Langley, PCS and whatnot. So it's really cool to talk to them and be like, oh, hey, haven't talked to you in 2 years.
Yeah.
I need a favor.
Yeah.
I need you to reload flare for us. So that's kind of the give and take too. So it's not like just going asking a stranger, hey, can we borrow jets or whatnot. So it's fun to get that as well.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm sure. Raz, are these real flares, or like in the Navy we used to have something called STUF? I think it was Simulated Training Unit Flare. And the idea was, when we put it out, if you and I were dogfighting, it was way more visible to your eye, even if the IR part of it wasn't as good. So what are you putting out here?
We're putting out training flares, MJU-7, so kind of standard training flare that we're using throughout the fleet. So that's all we're using for demos. It has to be a training flare or equivalent to be loaded on the jet for the demo. But we can't bring it with us. The logistical mess of that would be a lot of personnel, a lot more equipment, and most places we go wouldn't be able to support that. And so we take what we have in 2 jets. And so this is Friday practice. I'll shoot out a couple, but we save them for Saturday, Sunday shows.
And is that flare like a firework, dare I say, where it sort of burns itself out, so there's really nothing left that's hitting the ground?
Exactly. Yeah. It's basically it's all burned up in the sequence. We have altitude cutoffs as far as where we can release it, but we're above 2,500 feet when we're releasing these, and it's about 3 to 4 seconds, and then there's nothing left. So.
Okay. All right. I think I asked you about that, but I think in the maneuver you're doing here, it looks like, is this a loop or what?
Yeah, so it's a high alpha loop into a pedal turn. So this is one of the maneuvers we kind of tweaked this year. So I'll pull around 350 knots in the vertical upline, 90 degrees nose high. I do a 360-degree roll. And then at the top of the maneuver, I flip over. What's unique about this maneuver, what we changed this year, is when I go do a hard stop pull at the top of this maneuver, I go immediately with a full boot of pedal and lateral stick to the left. So I actually start yawing inverted. And that was basically to preserve more altitude throughout that maneuver. If I just do a straight high alpha loop, the jet's going to flip. It's going to be a very tight turn radius in the vertical. But by adding that pedal and lateral stick at the top of the maneuver, the jet basically corkscrews and starts yawing earlier so that I get more degrees heading crossing angle cut out to go right into the pedal turn. So we can do this maneuver now. If, say we had a 4,500 foot ceiling, I could execute this maneuver at 3,500 feet, do that hard stop pull, get into the pedal turn, do a full 360 to the left, and recover at 2,500 feet, which is our normal recovery number. On a beautiful blue sky day like we have in San Diego, I go up to 5,000 feet. And that allows me to do a left 360 and then a right 360. So basically, very easy maneuver to fly because it's flying like a stick and rudder airplane, even though it's not at all a stick and rudder machine. So I'm full boot of pedal and full lateral stick. And then once I get established in that pedal turn, that's all I'm doing. And then I can kind of look around and be like, oh, wow, there's a lot of people here at Miramar. But when I get to, I basically want to parallel the show heading, and then I reverse all those inputs. So I just go now full pedal to from left to right, and then reverse that stick input, still holding a hard stop pull to stay in that post-stall regime. And it's just showcasing, again, we're post-stall. The airframe's no longer producing lift, full control of where the nose is pointing. So thrust vectoring is what's keeping my nose up. And then with that pedal command, the rudders are blanked. There's no airflow over really those surfaces. So the jet's assessing the G, relative wind, angle of attack, and knows, all right, it's got to be the horizontal stabs on the back of the jet to make this maneuver happen. So they're asymmetrically deflected to create that yaw. And then you'll see them dancing because the jet's restricting me to a max yaw rate. And the whole idea of the F-22 design was we want the pilot to solely focus on the adversary that you're fighting, not worried about departing controlled flight or overstressing the airplane. And so it is very intuitive to fly, and that makes my job a lot easier, not having to worry about that. So I'm getting restricted to a max yaw rate here by the jet.
It's just such a crazy maneuver to watch because now I never flew the F-14, but right, that was the big Achilles heel of that is if you got yourself into something like you're demonstrating,
correct,
you almost pretty much know you're going to have to jump out of the thing. And in the F-18, they didn't like us doing a whole lot of crazy yaw, and we didn't have thrust vectoring. So that's, to me, why I think your demonstration is unlike any others. Be able to show that at a low altitude where we as the audience can enjoy it is incredible. And then again, the flares really accentuate. It's a brilliant thing, whoever came up with this, because they're going out in these directions that really almost create like a visual reference in the sky.
That's one of the biggest things when we talk to it. We talk to the flight controls, and when we have the opportunity to do flare, it really just gives a perspective, right? A clear blue sky with a big jet in the air, right? And Major Larson's flying it. Maybe you kind of lose a little bit of that perspective, but when you're popping off flare and the flare's falling faster than Major Larson, the F-22 is like, wait a second.
Raz, what you were describing, by the way, a minute ago, I've quipped on this show before that, yes, we have fly-by-wire, but I call it fly-by-vote, right? Because you're basically saying, hey, this is what I want to do. Right. And the jet's like, okay, well, I'll give him a little of this and a little of that. And so you, as the pilot, you get a vote. And another question I get a lot on this show is, what aircraft would you have loved to have flown that you didn't? And I always say the F-22.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, which for a Navy guy, but yeah, it's too bad they didn't build the 750 or whatever they were supposed to. So.
And we get that question a lot at air shows as well. How much is the jet doing on its own? Well, the jet is always figuring out what surfaces to move, but it's not doing anything on its own. Everything is hand-flown in the Raptor. Everything is a pilot input. We really don't have autopilot functions in the F-22. We have an altitude hold, which works okay, but everything's hand-flown. And to be the demo pilot, you have to be an instructor pilot. You've been flying the jet for 4 to 5 years at least, got the hours. So once you really understand the airplane, you understand the angle of attack regimes you want to be in for these maneuvers. That's when you can really wring this airplane out and do what it was intended to do. So again, it's such an amazing machine, and once you have that understanding of kind of the advanced handling characteristics, it's an impressive machine. Yeah,
indeed. All right. So after that, what's next?
So this is the power loop. So I'll kick out a couple of flares here. So this is basically, I'm entering 1,500 feet, 250 knots. We're going to show just the capability of this jet to basically backflip in one single point in the sky. So I will double my altitude in that maneuver. This is one that's really fun in the cockpit because I basically start to bring the nose up. I make sure both afterburners are symmetrically lit, and then I go do a full hard stop pull. I have display on the right screen that has shown me real time my stick inputs, so I can be as precise as possible with those quick cross checks that I have no lateral stick commanded. I want to be just a straight hard stop. Don't want to induce an ER roll in these maneuvers low to the ground. And so I'll do basically that hard stop pull. I'll stare at that display, make sure that I'm perfectly laterally centered, and then just quick cross checks outside. At the top of that loop, the velocity vector of the airplane is still up, but the nose is tracking faster, opposite direction, getting through the horizon with that thrust vectoring. When I'm inverted there, still going up, the nose is starting to point back downhill. So it's a wild feeling. I actually get a little weightless sensation, get pushed forward after the initial G onset, and then I can actually feel that thrust vectoring kick in as it flips my nose back to the horizon. And it does feel like Mr. Toad's Wild Ride up there. And then from there, I'm now 3,000 feet, where I started at 1,500, so I've doubled my altitude, flipped in that one point of sky. And then at most shows, I'll just break that alpha and then proceed into a loaded roll maneuver. Here, I cut the loaded roll again for the fuel, so we had some time for some extra stuff after the Heritage flight. Some passes that I was going to do with the Mustang, some sneak passes, things of that sort. So.
Nice. And at your level of proficiency now, to make a change isn't a big, like, get you out of your own head kind of thing. You're just like, okay, this is what I'm going to do, right? A person driving who's been driving a long time, we do things in the car all the time without thinking about it. Right. So you've got that proficiency. You're like, hey, I'm going to skip this maneuver, and I know what that means and what it should give me.
And one thing we do that I've done in this job that's kind of unique to demo, we're going out and flying a rehearsed routine. So something we do that we can't really do back in the fleet is the dirt dive. And so no kidding, if you watch me by the aircraft prior to actually getting in the jet and starting up, you see me walking around doing this weird dance. That is me going through the entire show that I'm going to fly that day because it is all scripted. And in my mind, I'm flying the perfect demo. I'm never actually going to do that. But because we change it for fuel considerations, for weather, for what we're doing that day, there are changes, and I want that absolutely ingrained in my mind. So I'll do it 3 to 6 times prior to getting into the jet. And as I'm going through it, I'll be like, oh, forgot about something. I'm supposed to be releasing flares here, or I'm not doing that today. I'll catch that. By the 6th iteration, I'm in my mind flying the perfect demo for that day of what exactly I'm going to do. And so that when I get in the air, when I deviate, I'm immediately correcting back without really having to think about it because I've already ingrained that into my mind.
Yeah. I've read that they've taught basketball players, hey, before you take a free throw, imagine the way you're going to shoot it and watching the ball go right in the basket. And sounds like similar. I think we would call it chair flying, but you're actually walking it around.
I will, yeah. I'll pick a spot awesome. On the ground that is no kidding show center, and then I'll start to visualize my lines and corner markers, things of that sort. And again, back in fleet flying, really we use that 65-minute brief to get everyone on the same page as far as what we're going to do. But there's so many variables with an air-to-air fight, for example, where you can't go and chair fly everything that's going to happen, but you need to have a plan and contracts, all those things. For the demo flying, I find it very, very effective because it is a rehearsed routine.
Yeah. What happens next if you're on the regular routine or even in the one you changed on?
So from the loaded roll, that kicks me out in a left-hand turn. I go behind the crowd, fly directly over the crowd at 1,000 feet, and then pull into the vertical, basically a hard stop pull, and I go to idle power. I have to make sure, so you have to kind of play this maneuver out for setting up the tail slide. We want to be able to fly this maneuver if we had a 3,000-foot ceiling. So I want to apex right at 2999 on this maneuver so that I can repeat it the same way every time. Same pull, same entry parameters, and then idle power. As the jet decelerates below 100 knots, I will push the throttles back to mil power, so just shy of afterburner, our highest power setting. That's to command constant airflow as the jet basically goes to zero airspeed. A lot of people ask about the tail slide. How do you not flame out the engines? Well, we have phenomenal engines, so Pratt & Whitney F-119s. Probably during our taxi here, a unique Raptor howl as I push up the power. We have very, very heavy engine fan blades, and they are designed for extreme angle of attack maneuvering to not be worried about flaming out those engines. So I go to mil power there just to, again, command that continuous airflow through the engines. John, you can probably speak to this as well. When we were designing the F-22, I say we, I was late on in the program, but when the United States and all the brilliant engineers were working on this jet, they actually found they're getting so much airflow through the engines at high speeds. We have bleed air doors added to the top to kick some of that air out to make sure that that mixture is where we want it for high-speed maneuvering. But again, we're not worried about flaming out engines during the tail slide. And then I'll make sure I'm at a good apex number. And this is one where I'm talking again with the guys on the ground. They're giving me a ready now. Right as the beat drop on the song, I kick out a flare. And then from there, this is also, there's a lot to talk about for the tail slide. This is a maneuver where I'm staring through the HUD, and I actually fly with a flight test HUD, which gives me a beta scale to measure yaw. And I have to be within very strict yaw tolerances because for a few seconds in time there, the jet's just a giant kite at 0 knots at the apex of this maneuver. I have the ability with thrust vectoring to always push forward or flip backwards, even at 0 knots. So I always have the ability to recover, but the jet is susceptible to wind and building yaw. And for me, there's not a lot you can do when you're 0 knots, about 80 degrees nose high. So I'm actually just fitting in small pulses of backstick pressure, quick cross-check to make sure it's laterally centered. And that just is basically telling the jet, I'm keeping the nose up, and I want to just stay straight as I start this line. Yep.
Okay.
I promise this makes sense. Yep. But from there, as I start to fall backwards, I'll get about 80 knots in reverse. The nose starts wanting to come downhill at around 50 knots, so I'll just continuously increase backstick pressure really with the rate that I'm falling, all the way to a hard stop pull. So you see the stabs on the back of the jet really dug in. We want those perfectly symmetric. And just holding the nose up until I hit my recovery numbers, which is about 80 knots in reverse or 2,700 feet, whichever comes first. But this is, if I start to get yaw that is not induced by me, this is one where I'm pushing forward. If I let that yaw build and I don't recover the jet, that's where I could end up, inverted in a spin. We have altitude to recover, but obviously don't want anything like that to happen. So if I ever see yaw build on this maneuver, that I don't want, then it's a quick push forward and recover.
Yeah. Hold on, though. I want to challenge you on something you said, and let me see if I heard you correctly. You say you fly with a what HUD? A test HUD?
Flight test HUD.
Flight test HUD. But how do you get that? Because you just told me you borrow these from regular operational squadrons.
So that's actually something I set up on the ground. So that's just on our ICP, going through the menu keys and selecting the flight test HUD. So I will get that set up, and I will cross-check that yaw on other maneuvers. This is the primary where we're looking at that. But that's an option in every F-22 to select that flight test HUD. Yeah. And I also have a target AOA that I can put into that heads-up display as well, which we'll see for the slow speed pass. I get to use that.
Crazy. All right. So you come out of that?
Yep. So went straight to the slow speed. What we added this year, we were talking about trying to showcase what's unique about the F-22. A lot of teams do a high alpha slow speed pass. Some teams do it lower than us. Some of our single-engine brethren fly it lower because if you lose an engine during this pass, there's really no option other than to get out of the aircraft. For us, we fly it at 1,000 feet, and we get down to about 75 knots on our slow-speed pass. With a good headwind during this pass, I've seen in the 50s ground speed. Wow. So you'd be passing me on the highway in your car. But what's unique about our demonstration throughout the entire display, if I lose an engine at any point, whether I'm 0 knots or in the slow speed at 75 knots, you have to be able to recover the airplane on one engine at all points. So all of our parameters as far as altitude and airspeed is designed to recover the jet, and we practice it in the sim over and over again, these recoveries. In case you had a catastrophic flight control failure or an engine quit, we're never reaching for the handle. You're going to fly the jet out on one engine and then land. So that's the background as far as kind of how we set up the display, how Lockheed Martin engineers and the Air Force developed the display. What we added this year to the slow speed, because we do it at 1,000 feet, we wanted to showcase how we can enter it with the unique characteristics of the F-22. We worked with the Edwards flight test folks, a gentleman who I had flown with in Alaska, Racer Maggard, actually helped me develop this. I wanted a maneuver in the demo where I do a high alpha maneuver and basically recover the jet nose high. And we found the best spot was the entry for the slow speed. So I'll, no kidding, enter about 300 feet, 1,000 feet, and I'll do an aggressive pull to get those post-stall cues in the heads-up display right at the water line. So I'm basically flying an AOA throughout this entire loop. So I start at 1,000, and that's going to spit me out at 1,000. So I do this high alpha loop, and at the end, I pull the power out of burner, sometimes just right to idle, and then continue to pull the feed in that backstick pressure to bring the nose up and to rapidly decelerate the jet. What's unique about that is a lot of airplanes couldn't really come out of the vertical and just slow down as quickly as the Raptor can, trying to show what we can do in a vertical fight in BFM. Mm-hmm. So again, just another unique aspect of the F-22 we're trying to showcase. And then I just hold it around 75 knots, and I'm around 33 to 36 degrees angle of attack. Wow. And then my safety observer, because my nose is so high, is basically telling me good line or giving me a correction, a degree in or a degree out, kind of like a PAR approach, if you will. Mm-hmm. And then he'll give me a show center call, and that's when I light the burners, and then I'll bring it up to about 60 to 70 degrees nose high, and the jet will accelerate from 75 knots and burner uphill it'll just keep accelerating. So I'll get above 100 knots, and then I will check away from the crowd here to set up for the high-speed pass and a split S.
And that one is always impressive to me because instead of breaking the alpha and accelerating away level, you're almost, from the viewer's perspective, just coming along and I'm just going to go now in the direction I'm pointing.
Yep. Great opportunity to showcase the 70,000 pounds of thrust of the Raptor.
My goodness.
So from there, I will go into the vertical. I'll go 4,000 feet, get to about 200 knots, roll the aircraft upside down, and then dive back in for a high-speed pass. We have to be very careful in the F-22 on the high-speed pass.
To not accidentally go supersonic.
She likes going fast.
It does. Yep. Fast jets like to go faster, right? But it's a very slick airframe, and there's nothing hanging off the wings, very powerful engines. And so you'll see some other teams be able to do these high-speed passes in min-AB or an afterburner and just kind of hold it. I have to go idle at 0.9 Mach, or I will, even in idle power, continue to accelerate through the sound barrier. And so for me, I'm diving back in. I'm going between max AB and min AB. On the dive back in, we intentionally go 30 degrees away from the crowd so that you can see the line of sight rate as the jet flows back in for the high-speed pass. So I'll be under pretty heavy G as I level off at 300 feet and kind of bank to capture that Cat 3 line that we talked about. And then I'll just roll the wings level, and then I'm just staring at my Mach. As soon as I get to 0.9 Mach, I'm to idle with a little bit of speed brake to make sure I don't exceed our speed limit of 0.95 Mach on that high speed. And then it's just a pull into the vertical. For this show, I just did an implement over the crowd in idle power. So I get up to, depending on how hard I'm pulling, I can pull in idle power up to about 10,000 feet, trying to scrub some of that airspeed and bleed some energy to set up for our next maneuver.
Yeah. Is the speed brake actually a panel, or is it just the flight controls doing something kind of opposed to create a braking action?
That's a great question. It's no dedicated surface, so it's just dirty up the flight controls symmetrically to create more drag. And so when we're commanding speed brake, a lot of times you'll see the wispies off the jet as those flight controls deflect and create more drag.
Yeah. And you said something earlier about developing that particular maneuver. I guess I was, prior to this discussion, of the understanding that whoever your predecessor was, you just adopted his show. Is that not the case?
We did, yeah. So we have a manual with everything described, all the maneuvers, all the emergency procedures. It had been unchanged really since the inception of the demo. So we did the work this past off season to go to Edwards, go through all these simulations. For all the changes we made, we did hundreds of runs with different EPs to make sure that we're still meeting the standard of we can recover this jet at any point. But yeah, we just went through the lengthy approval process to get that all squared away for this season to make some of those changes. Yeah.
Cool. All right. I don't know if I ended up showing a maneuver here while you were talking, but looks like maybe a aileron roll there to
Yep. So we call this the Hoover pitch. It's dedicated to Bob Hoover, aviation legend.
Indeed.
But from there, basically, after I do the high speed, I go into the vertical. Again, depending on, I set up the slow speed pass into the wind. And so that changes the direction of my high speed pass. So on the reposition, I either do an implement over the field or I do basically get up to 90 degrees nose high and do a 3-point roll. No matter what, I'm going into the vertical just to set up for the Hoover pitch. We always keep the Hoover pitch right to left just for the mechanics because I'm doing tuck under rolls low to the ground. But I'll basically go to a 90-degree knife edge point. Again, this is synced up with our show center crew. They're telling me when to sync up with their music and narration. I'll hold knife edge. I'll do a tuck under roll and then do a high G turn. Usually that's when we're towards the end of the show here. I'm getting close to that 9 Gs on this pull. I'll do that pull, get to a 90-degree off heading. I'll relax that alpha, make sure I have no AOA on the jet and I'm no backstick, and then I'll do another tuck under roll to set for the reposition for the next maneuver. From here, I just basically continue a left-hand turn, and then I'm eyes outside looking for the warbird. So this weekend at Miramar, looking for the Mustang, he's diving in. I'm in comm with him during the demo, telling him which maneuver I'm on for my last 3 passes so that he can set his reposition line. And from that Hoover pitch, he'll basically dive in from crowd right, start an arcing turn. I'll dive in from crowd left, and I'll pitch out and max AB in front of the crowd to go rejoin on his wing. Again, that's another high 9G pull, and then kind of playing with the power to arrive and hopefully shack right on the right wing of the Mustang and then set up for the Heritage flight.
And the Heritage flight, as I understand, is relatively recent for air shows, last decade, maybe a little more by now. But the idea was, right, to showcase the sort of old and new. So
Absolutely,
here we have
right.
the P-51, the arguably hero of the Army Air Corps during World War II. And right next to it is the latest and greatest. So it's cool to see them together. And I can never decide if it means you guys are really big or the Mustang was just really small. But it is kind of interesting to see the two together.
Oh, absolutely. So just a little bit about the Heritage flight. When we go to Davis-Monthan Air Force Base to do the Heritage flight, it's really cool to go out there with A-10, F-22, F-16. We have a P-38 Lightning, a P-47 Thunderbolt. We have P-51 Mustangs, and showcasing where we start at the beginning in a 2-ship to where you end up in a 4-ship and all the little variants that are able to do. It's really cool to see just the formation flying, right? Mm-hmm. And from the beginning of when we start to how nice and even and symmetrical everything is. So it's always fun to see the Heritage flight.
Indeed.
Yeah, we train that at the conference out at Davis-Monthan each year. So we bring out all the warbirds, all the warbird pilots, and all the active duty teams. And 4 days of just nonstop different mixed formations. And we get certified by our leadership and by the FAA to fly these formations throughout the year.
And it looks like you fly in echelon left and right, and then there's one where you're sort of right underneath behind.
That's right.
Like a slot.
Yep.
Okay.
So it kind of cut around on this video, but we'll make 5 passes on the right wing for the first 2, a slot, then left wing for the last 2. As John was saying, one of the coolest parts of the job, I'd say flying-wise, like flying the demo is great. I absolutely love it. It's always an adrenaline rush. Getting to fly with these warbirds has by far been a highlight of my career. Everything from P-38, F-86, like John was saying. It's such a thrill to be up there in the air. And no kidding, in those formation positions, you can hear that Merlin engine from the cockpit of the Raptor, which is a lot of fun.
I don't know if Spencer Hughes has it on this video, but I've only recently figured out your all's secret, because the Blue Angels will do this too, is you come overhead from behind the crowd and you're next to each other. Mm-hmm. But once you get a little bit away from us, we don't notice that one of you is sliding back, so that as soon as you do the turn, right, it looks like you're going to hit each other, because the last thing we saw is you were next to each other.
Yep.
But what I wanted to tell you is on Saturday when I was watching this, your F-22 gave you away, because those speed brakes you were talking about, I started seeing things kind of opening up like, aha, I got him. So
that's great, actually, and I wanted to point that out. I mean, we get to see this demo all the time, and we still are little kids just having a great time. But one of the things that we love talking to Civil Air Patrol or ROTC folks, JROTC folks is, hey, if you've seen the demo before, or if you haven't seen the demo before, absolutely watch it, everything. You're just awe-inspired. But if you've seen it a few times, now we're just going to tell you a secret. Pay attention to the flight controls. Everything from the takeoff maneuver to the high alpha pass, everything is just really working. You get to actually see not 3,000 PSI of hydraulic pressure in legacy aircraft. We're 4,000 PSI moving these flight control surfaces around and kind of seeing that perspective of everything. So it's really cool to hone in on that. And then you get the feedback on the back end and you're like, I never would have looked at the stabs digging in, right, to keep him at a high AOA or all of that, the leading edge flaps. So it's just fun to see all of that. But the speed brakes, she loves to go fast. So when those rudders kick out, it's...
I didn't play a lot of baseball, but I assume for those who did, it's like the first time you step up with a bat, every pitch looks very similar. But once you get some proficiency, you can start looking for the turn of the threads or whatever the case is. Now, there's another video, and I guess, is this yours channel, the F-22 Demo Team?
It is.
All right, cool. And so we don't have to dissect everything in this, but I thought it might be fun just to watch part of it because it really gives an amazing perspective of what you're going through up there. And I noticed it's strategically positioned so that we don't see any of your displays.
That's right.
But is this one of those crazy cameras where you can, in post, kind of decide what you're looking at?
It is, yeah. We fly with a 360-degree camera. We get it vetted and approved by our security folks. The Demo Team, no kidding, manufactured basically, well, we call them our GoPro mounts, but they screw into the glare shield of the aircraft.
Okay.
So we mount the camera the exact same way everywhere we go, and we can plug and play with the different jets we get. But we fly with that for every performance. That's use it for debrief and then to share it with folks because of where it is. It's really just on the left or right side of the heads-up display.
Yeah. Well, and it really gives an amazing perspective when I've watched this of what you're going through, because you can see a little of the effect of the G's, but also the vapes, the vapors that are being created,
absolutely,
as well as some of those flares that we were talking about before. So.
That's right. Yeah, this is Fort Lauderdale last year. This is the first time we ever used flares in the performance. So that started with our team in the 2023 season.
Yeah. This is you?
This is me,
okay.
Yep, over
and
Fort Lauderdale.
The visor you're using a moment ago, I could see your eyes kind of stealing glances at that left display that you were talking about.
Yeah, so this is our entry maneuver, the high alpha loop. So pulling up 3,500 feet, full aft stick, basically backflip the jet, break the alpha to be descending 90 degrees nose low, and then do that reposition roll to set up for the rest of the maneuvers.
Yeah. Well, and again, we don't need to dissect every bit of it, but is it show up here with the Heritage?
We did not have Heritage at this show.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like at Miramar then, is that pretty much the end at that point? Are you watching fuel or you just know how many passes or like what dictates the end of the show?
So it's all briefed with the limitations for the Warbird as well as what we have for fuel remaining and what the show has given us for time. But after that switch break, like you talked about, we're not actually going to hit each other, try to make it look like we're going to hit. We basically try to match our pull and our roll rates. We roll outboard, and then we added, again in these past 2 seasons, a sneak pass, if you will. So the idea was we've just shown formation capabilities between these 2 aircraft. Now let's continue this show, if you will, of coordinating passes beyond the Heritage flight. So the Warbird will make a level pass. In this case, it was Steve O'Hinton flying the Mustang this weekend, Warbird legend, who we get to fly with a lot. And he is absolutely great to work with, but he'll make a flat pass, and the idea is he's going in front of the crowd from left to right, and eyes are on him. I'll try to sneak behind the crowd, and we want to hit show center at the exact same moment with me 500 feet coming over the crowd in max AB, and I'll basically do a Cobra right over top. And then from there, we had the fuel this weekend for our last maneuver. I went up and did another J-turn, but just changed the orientation so that J-turn's occurring at show center. And the idea there is we're hitting all of our normal airspeed and altitude gates that we have to hit. We're just changing where this maneuver occurs so that the crowd sees I'm going basically flying straight and level after that Cobra from right to left. I'm stopping midair. The nose is carving through the horizon, and I'm pointed another direction. And that's where I basically got rid of all my remaining flares, manually lowering the flare interval so that they all kick out rapid fire.
That's cool.
And then while I'm up there doing that, he does another pass, again, coordinated timing, trying to shack the timing where he does a photo pass and then set up for landing.
And I want to say, like, it's over as soon as you know you're going to land, right? And of course, all aviators will tell you it's not over till you're in the chocks.
That's right.
So, you still need to be able to land safely and not get too complacent. But All right, so when you land and you're taxiing clear, probably the air show's trying to move on to something else. You've been narrating this whole time. Once it's over, is everybody running over to like check the jet or ask, that was awesome, or high fives, or what's happening for the folks on the ground?
So at Show Center, Jello, we're absolutely making sure we're still staying up on comms. Obviously, it's not over until engines are shutting down,
right,
and making sure that we're going through everything there. I wouldn't say we run to the jet. We have our maintenance team that's standing by, but we absolutely still push over there to make sure that we get everything squared away. And then, bless the jet as much as possible before we go back to the tent, before we start handing out stickers, and make sure that we're ready for the next day.
Yeah. Well, and I would imagine, you said earlier you had a place where you were giving or selling things. So probably right after the show is a time when everyone's all enthused and probably wants to come see you or I guess they can't see the airplane because that's usually beyond the crowd line.
Yep, we'll usually wait till the end of the show to start bringing people out to the jets. But just like Thunderbirds, Blue Angels, we have a rehearsed ground show, getting into the jet and getting out of the jet. It's all about precision. And so our guys are waiting at the spot. As soon as we break from that ground show, they are immediately jumping in the tubes of the aircraft. So jumping through the intakes, which I've done before. You wear a special suit. It's warm. Once you do it a couple times, you have a real appreciation. Right after we fly, just the heat and all the fumes in there. But they get right in there and start inspecting, making sure engines are good to go. They go through the entire aircraft. They're walking the top of the aircraft. And then for the show center crew, including myself, that's usually our best time, just like you said, to go right to the crowd and start passing out stickers and talking to folks about what they just saw, because everyone's fired up and jazzed up about the F-22.
Indeed. All right, well, I have some listener questions I want to pose to you, gentlemen. I tell my Patreon supporters who help keep the lights on here in the studio that I'm going to sit down with you, and I let them come up with a question or two or three in some cases. So at any rate, the first one's from Scott Morris, good friend. Actually, he and I have done some projects together besides the Fighter Pilot Podcast. He says, when did the team start using flares? You said this earlier, last year at Fort Lauderdale?
Yes, sir.
So that was 23?
Yeah, 2023.
Okay.
Yep.
And are they loaded prior to the ferry to the show, or are they loaded on site? And I think if I remember correctly, you said they're loaded prior.
Loaded prior.
Yep. And does this pose challenges at non-military sites? Is it considered ordnance?
It's not. It's we have to have the ability to download those flares and store them in the event of a contingency.
Okay.
So we have a checklist these shows have to meet. We have to meet to make sure that everything's squared away for the flare operations. But keeping them in the jets, and then with how we operate, we've had no issues. Very, very low risk that we're going to have any kind of anomalies with the flares. But there is a checklist that the shows have to meet. The shows have to agree to let us shoot those flares. And so we would do them everywhere if we could. Right now we're restricted to overwater or military open house shows.
Okay.
And those shows have to agree to it. We can't just do it as civilian field.
Okay.
Yet, but maybe that's something in the future teams
Maybe
will get to.
Something else with the flare too is that's unique to the F-22. I'm prior F-15 crew chief. Was the stores was just obviously the mod going into the belly of the F-15, torqued down, and you could absolutely go underneath and see that. We have the availability to electronically safe our countermeasures doors.
Oh wow. Okay.
Which is something else. Is just an added safety step for us. So we absolutely talk to the shows and we're like, hey, this is absolutely safe. We talk to the fire crews and make sure that they know what's going on there, but it's just another added layer of safety for our end.
Okay. Christian Smelzer, if I pronounce that correctly, sorry, Christian, has a question, which if you want to play politician and sidestep and talk about something like it, you can. How do the F-22's stealth capabilities contribute to its effectiveness in a demonstration setting? Or do they, I would add?
That's a great question. So John narrates, we can't show you everything that makes the F-22 truly unique. And so a couple of those, capabilities, we're not going to show you super cruise, right? Which is, I'm not going to use afterburner. I'm going to go faster than the speed of sound. We can go about Mach 1.4 with afterburner, F-22, 60,000 feet, Mach 2. So we can't show you that. We can't really showcase the sensor fusion, all the amazing things that the sensors of the jet are doing that really presents me a nice, pretty consolidated picture of the battle space. We can't showcase that. And then the stealth, you can really get an appreciation of seeing the jet up close. That's why we love being at the actual show site, to really see the unique characteristics of the F-22 as far as the shape, the radar absorbent material that coats the entire airplane, In terms of the demo, unless you've got something to add, John, I don't think there's anything where
no, I don't think so.
We can show you a blank radar scope on a big screen as we're flying around. But it is just something, again, we like giving people the opportunity to see the jet up close, to see how the angles of the jet look, some of the unique things that you'll notice that are different from other fighters.
It definitely is, indeed. Derek Burney, what is your favorite part of the demo? I think you said this earlier, though, but now I forget. Was it joining and doing the part with the Heritage?
Flying wise, absolutely. Yep. Getting to fly the Heritage flight with the many different warbirds.
Okay.
Yep.
How about you, John?
Well, that kind of depends. I know we spoke to the maneuvers portion. The dedication pass is always something that we absolutely love. My favorite pass to narrate and to just see is always the tail slide. The tail slide, second best, we'll say. The pedal turn, doing the 360 is something great. But with all the Heritage flight pilots and meeting them, they're amazing people. They really are.
Yeah.
Being able to showcase that as well, I really love narrating that portion.
I bet. Well, Derek Burney did continue, and I think you touched on this earlier when he said, what is your favorite part of the demo? Is it the flying, the prep work, the interaction with the other demo teams, walking the crowd, the travel, or something else altogether? So when it comes to Tuesday to Monday, is there a favorite part of that?
So I think John and I could both answer this and have slightly different answers, but I think they're going to be relatively similar. The flying is great, and you talk to someone in the squadron to say, well, you're flying the same kind of routine each and every week. It's got to get old. It hasn't. I'm coming up on the end of my time. It's bittersweet. I'm trying to savor the moment. Mm-hmm. I absolutely love it. You're flying this jet in new locations, different Heritage flight pilots, as John said. They're phenomenal people who are dedicating resources and their time to keep those warbirds flying and taking them to show so we can fly in formation. That is all phenomenal, and I absolutely love it. I would say my number one most rewarding aspect of this job, and the thing I'm going to miss the most, is the interaction. Everywhere we go, there's a special aspect of that show, and we always, pretty much every day, I'd say there's at least between 1 and 50 interactions that are just special. Yeah. And after talking to a youngster at one of these shows at the crowd line or by the jets or at the tent, that individual might be my replacement someday. Just based on that conversation and the excitement that they have. And so that's incredibly rewarding, and that's the thing I'm going to miss the most, because you have the ability to say to a youngster at the show, hey, why don't you come out to the jets afterwards and get an up-close look, and we'll talk about it, and we'll show you some stuff, and take the patch off your right arm and hand it to them. That is very, very rewarding, and I remember the folks who did that for me when I was a youngster, how much that fueled the fire for me. So being able to be on the other side of that has been by far the most rewarding part. So that's number one. Number two would be working with the team. And I think that's an underestimated thing that folks who haven't been on a demo team don't understand. But the fact that we've been able to work as a small crew just going out across the country and across the world with these international events with 2 jets just to make it happen and relying on everyone's strengths in order to do so. And really being a close-knit family. In the operations side, you really get to work with your maintenance personnel like you do on the demo team. And it's just been an absolutely phenomenal experience, very eye-opening for me. And the reason this job is so fun is because we have such a remarkable group of individuals on this team, and I'm honored to call them teammates.
Yeah. So. Terrific. I want to come to you, John, on the same question, but I got my start at an air show, 1978, Point Mugu. They were still firing missiles as part of the demo back then, by the way.
Awesome. We can bring that back, yeah.
I remember it. It's hard to know what young boy or girl you might have inspired to join, but what a just catalyst moment for them. So how about for you, Master Sergeant, from Tuesday to Monday, what's your favorite part of the whole evolution?
Yeah, I'm going to do the two-part. I started, I grew up in Arizona. Kind of all over the place, but I remember going to Williams Field and the F-15 demo team was there, and I was blown away, just blown away. And I got a patch, and it said Eagle Driver on it, and I just carried that thing around. I'm like, look at what I got, look what I got. So that kind of inspired me there. From that, I was the team chief 2010, 11, and 12 on the demo team, and that really just got me started with being back here as the senior enlisted leader. My favorite part is the interaction. It has to be. And sometimes the interaction's 30 seconds, Jello, and then sometimes it's 5 minutes, but you really just get that sense of connection. And Major Larson, I think I always felt that, but Major Larson put it to us earlier last year, and it just really stuck in my head with he said, we don't need to fly to do our job. And that really kind of pulled me back a little bit. Yeah. And I'm like, he's right. I've always lived that portion, but hearing it really just separates to be like, okay, if something happens to the jet, which thank goodness nothing's ever had because we have a phenomenal maintenance team, but with that is the interaction at that tent. The interaction at the tent, the interaction was just handing a sticker to an individual and seeing how happy they are. And then you see their parents, and their parents light up because they're seeing something that maybe is just going to reminisce with them for the rest of their life. And we're normal people, right? We're just normal people. And I think that's just a very important thing in that aspect. And then the second one is the teamwork. Is that huddle, and to see these. I call them kids. They're obviously adults, but they're younger maintainers in their early part of their career, and we're asking them to do things that again they normally don't do, and it is just kind of a sit back and smile because they're making decisions. They're leading the team, and sometimes they don't know it, and it's just kind of just John, be quiet and just watch, and it's fun. So yeah, the two parts. Terrific. 2 parts of that.
Yeah. All right. Jim Gundog says, how excited would you be if they made new technology integration F-22 like they did with the F-15EX? And right, he's making a connection that doesn't really work because they were still making F-15s and decided to continue for us, as I understand it. The idea of making F-22, someone looked at and they destroyed all the jigs and everything to do that, so it's not going to happen. But I guess to his question, how excited would you be?
Well, they repurposed that line. They did actually do a congressional review of reopening the line in recent years.
For F-22.
For F-22s, Yep. We would be very excited. That being said, we are updating this fleet, and there are a lot of upgrades coming down the line for the F-22 that our developmental test, operational test folks are working on. So there's going to be a lot of new toys, a lot of new capabilities for this jet. And the idea is to continue to prolong its effectiveness as the premier air-to-air fighter in the world. And so we're not done yet, and there's going to be a lot of new stuff for the Raptor coming down the line. Yeah.
And not to take away from that, right? But quantity has a quality of its own.
Right.
You're only going to have what you have at this point.
That's right.
So it would be great if we could, wave a magic wand and get more, but it's not that easy. So.
Yep.
All right, moving on. Gary Fry says, the F-22 is hands down the best demo I've seen in nearly 50 years of being an aviation enthusiast. And by the way, Gary actually corroborated my story about the missile shoot at the Point Mugu because I thought I was 8 years old. Like, maybe I made that up. He goes, no, because we were talking. He goes, I was there. I saw it. So I see a second aircraft from time to time on your Instagram account, which you guys need to make a plug for. Assume it's the backup airframe. Is its pilot certified to fly the demo if needed? You already told me no.
That's right. Yep. So 2 years, I get all the good deals flying all these demos. So we only upgrade one pilot at a time. So I try not to go do dangerous activities and break a leg so that we can keep flying them. But as we said before, backup pilot there is not a backup to fly the demo, but it's just the mutual support safety observer for the demo.
Okay. Then the final question is from John Clark. Why did it take so long for the Raptor demo teams to show off the aircraft's capabilities now seen at air shows? For the years, the demonstration routine was quite tame.
That's an interesting one. Yeah.
Well, is he wrong? I mean, maybe.
Well, from that, again, just plugging in, I was the team chief 2010, 11, and 12. Back then, it was Major Skalicki, and then I was with Major Shantz after that, and they've obviously had successful careers going in the Air Force. But with that, it's been pretty much the same routine ever since it was Major Moga, Paul Max Moga, who was starting the demo team at Langley back then as well. So little, iterations of it, but I feel like the meat and potatoes were still there, outside of adding some of the extra maneuvers that Major Larson worked on off season, and then obviously adding flare.
Mm-hmm. And to that point, we are trying to make small changes that we can. Everything we do has to be approved. We can't go out and try a maneuver at a show or do something different.
Today I feel like doing this.
Yep. Every show we fly, I no kidding, write a grade sheet of how I did, and all my numbers get input as far as where I was entering and exiting maneuvers, and the grade sheet spits out a grade for me. So everything is controlled. I will say, as we iterate through each team, there's just minor changes that we're making. Some of the larger changes we made this year with new maneuvers We're always trying to get better. And the whole goal is, right, we're a moment in time on the team. We're here for 2 years, and then the team's going to keep going. And so our goal is that each iteration of the team is going to be better than the previous. And so for John and I, now on our way out, as we train our replacements, our mission and goal is that next year's team and the demonstration next year is going to be better than what we could do this year. And so if that's minor changes of the maneuvers or how we coordinate really as a team, we want to set them up for success. And so the goal is, and I expect what you'll see is that next year's demo is going to be better than this year. And 2 years from now, it's going to be better. And the hope is F-22 Demo Team keeps evolving to be the best it can be. So
I'm glad you said that, because one of my personal crusades with this show is to beat back Hollywood, right? You're a handsome dude flying an F-22. I mean, Hollywood would want you to say, it's never going to be as good as when I flew it. And here you are, regular, normal people, humble about it, and next year will be better, and it won't be me. Good on you, and thank you for helping with my crusade. You already answered my next question. I think this is the last year for the A-10 demonstration team. So F-22, no expiration date at this point?
Not at this point.
That I've heard.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, we're flying with the A-10 team in Huntington Beach next weekend. We'll be in Heritage Flight Formation with them. It'll be bittersweet. We love the A-10.
Wait a minute. So it goes straight from the demo of this is what we're flying to the Heritage? no like retirement period kind of thing?
Sorry, we'll be flying the Heritage flight with a P-51 next week. So the A-10 will do their full demo.
Yes. I thought you were saying it's already like the antique, like the P-51.
No. Yeah, sorry, I could have worded that differently.
No, it's just me and my public education.
Yeah, when we have 2 teams or 3 teams at a show, we will all get in formation with the Warbird together. So this year at Oshkosh, we got to fly all 4 active duty teams together in a Heritage flight. Next weekend will be a P-51, A-10, and us, but it's a thrill getting to fly off the wing of that airplane, especially in its final year. They've done a great job, and it's sad to see
Phenomenal
it go.
People. Phenomenal people.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's the future of the show, future of the F-22. You talked about new things coming. I always like to start wrapping up with a future for you all, and you both said this is your last season. When does the season end, like November-ish? Or?
Yep, mid-November for us.
Correct.
So then what, Master Sergeant, back to the Air Force?
So actually... Shameless plug. I'm actually part of the Virginia Air National Guard, doing an active tour. I did 16 years active duty, but with that, I've already spoken to my command, and I'm actually hitting the retirement button.
No way.
So I'll be scraping close to 22 years.
I got to look closer at your hair. There's not enough gray up there.
Oh, no, it's absolutely there. It's absolutely
all right,
there. But yeah, and then from there, I'm not sure. But I've met a lot of amazing people, obviously back at home, but then on the road as well. So I'm looking forward to the next chapter of my life with my beautiful wife and my 3 kids.
Oh,
we'll
fantastic.
See.
Well, I'm guessing it doesn't include just sitting on a rocking chair. I'm sure you have a lot of capability.
I'm not going to be able to do that, Joe. I got to keep going.
Good on you. All right, Raz, how about you? Get back to the CAF?
Yep, back to the CAF for me. So I'll be flying F-22s. I don't know exactly where yet. I'll find that out in the next month, but as we end this season, I'll be training the next demo pilot. We'll get that individual certified. I'll go out to Heritage Flight Conference again, basically, instructing the new pilot, and that'll kind of be it for me after the Heritage Flight. It'll be a new team running with the torch.
Okay.
So I'll be at Langley for a few months, flying with the combat squadrons there, and then really only 3 locations for Raptors now, so Virginia, Alaska, or Hawaii. So we'll see where I end up, but I'm looking forward to it. I love flying the Raptor. This is about year number 8 of flying it. And then from there, we'll see. But I'm enjoying it. I've had an absolute blast. This has been a thrill, the adventure that I'd hoped for. So probably keep doing it for a while.
As far as the big Air Force is concerned, are you, in a sense, a golden child? Hey, thanks for doing that. We're going to take care of you. Or maybe the opposite. Oh, well, he had that good deal, so we can screw him in all these other ways.
Time for a bad deal.
Is it neutral?
No, they've been great. Our leadership, who oversees the team back at Langley, been phenomenal to work with. And basically have been taking my inputs as far as what I want to do beyond this.
No, but I mean career-wise too. Okay, so
yeah, career-wise, it's been great for previous Raptor demo pilots. So we've got a lot of stars running around who are ex-demo pilots, or some folks decide this is it and get out. But I'd say it's helped the careers of a lot of folks. We'll see. Everyone's different, but. yeah, it's definitely not frowned upon, I would say, for demo. I could be wrong. Maybe they're listening to this and be like, yeah, you're due for a bad deal there. Yeah,
we've got a spot for you out in the desert of some Air Operations Center somewhere. Yeah. Oh, dear. Okay. Well, just about done. Usually we wrap up with call signs. Master Sergeant John Lugo, do you have a team nickname or call sign or something you use?
They came up with this one. Being the oldest on the team, every once in a while I'll hear better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John. And they point to me, and that's just the gray hair and the dad of it. So when I hear that, I'm like, I got it.
Okay, Papa John. All right. And Raz with 2 capital Z's. Now, sometimes Air Force guys on the show, Navy's pretty open about it, if I may generalize, call signs. You guys tend to be a little more tight-lipped. Is there at least a public version of this call sign?
Absolutely. So my first trip with the Raptor Squadron when I was a brand new wingman was to Kadena. So we were out there for quite some time, and so AZZ in my name, I got named out there on that first trip, was for at Kadena, because ZZ is the tail flash for all the aircraft that are stationed out there.
Okay.
And then the R is a long list of things. Some of the meanings I don't even know to this day, because the naming ceremony is
fun,
great tradition,
and there's refreshments there. So
there are. But unique thing, I got named with another pilot who showed up with me, and he got named Taz. So we were Raz and Taz in that squadron, and Taz is still flying Raptors. He's now at Langley, so people still get us confused all the time. But one of the few joint namings where we got named together. But it stands for at Kadena, and then a lot of different meanings.
Of adjectives or different things. Okay, terrific. Well, Papa John and Raz, I hope you'll accept a special edition Fighter Pilot Podcast guest patch. Now that you've spent your time with me today, I'd like you to have that. I don't necessarily assume you'll throw it on for the next performance, but you can put it on your wall in retirement or somewhere else. And I don't just give those away. Those are for folks that come on the show, and you guys were awesome. We spent a lot of time, actually, more than I thought. But I always enjoy letting folks have the last word. So Raz, probably as a good leader as I know you are, you probably want him to have the last word. But I'll put it back to your side of the table. But also, if there's anything else I didn't ask you about the F-22 demo team that I should have today, but anything to wrap up?
Well, I'll start by trade a patch here. So
terrific.
For your wall, this is it's a little beat up. That's the patch that flew with me at Miramar this weekend.
Thank you.
I will just say thanks for having us. It's great getting to talk demo. It's what we're passionate about. And then for anyone listening, just immense gratitude to all the folks who have made these past couple years really special for us as a team. And it goes for the airshow community, again, a unique aspect of this job is getting to go from active duty and get to work with these folks in this community. As you saw at Miramar this weekend, some phenomenal aviators that we get to share the sky with. But for our team, we've just enjoyed everyone from the volunteers, the directors of these shows, the folks who do airshow sound, parking. It's just such a great community. And so, again, it's been a brief moment in time being on this team, just 2 years, but the relationships will last forever. And it's just been such a great community to work with. So if any of those folks are listening, it's just a thank you for letting us be a part of this amazing community. And we've really enjoyed just being a part of the Raptor demo team.
Terrific. Master Sergeant, you get the last word.
All right, getting the last word. I'm going to say for everyone listening, come out to an air show. Come out to an air show. I've been doing this a long time, and I never see anyone sulking at an air show. Everyone is looking up, and you don't even really have to be an aviation enthusiast. There's EMS folks there. There's law enforcement. There's people, again, that are parking vehicles that are making everything happen in and out. Phenomenal group of people that you can just go out there and just talk to. And that attitude, humility, work ethic that we strive to have on the F-22 demo team, you'll see it in almost everybody out there, and it'll give you just kind of a glimpse into maybe something that you weren't even thinking of. So please come out to an air show and just start talking to people. You will be blown away by everybody out there. Guarantee it. And if you see any of us in a black uniform, F-22 demo team, our sister teams at ACC, I guarantee you, phenomenal people. Talk to them, please.
All right, that's awesome. Well, thanks again, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much, Jello. This has been an incredible opportunity.
Hey, thanks for watching this episode of the Fighter Pilot Podcast. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. I still do every episode. Now, as a quick reminder, we try to explain all the jargon, but in case you missed something, head on over to fighterpilotpodcast.com, where we have a glossary of all the different terms we use. And while you're there, check out some of the cool merchandise that we offer. For additional content and to help support the show, please go check out our Patreon page. We'll see you next week.